Supreme mess. At Donald Trump's absolute immunity argument, we actually heard a few Supreme Court justices try to normalize autocracy and even political violence. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, if you listened to the live stream of Donald Trump's absolute immunity argument before the Supreme Court, you'd be forgiven if you thought you were listening to a Saturday Night Live skit. Only problem is, there was nothing funny about it. Let's start with the new reporting. This from the New York Times. Headline: Conservative justices take argument over Trump's immunity in unexpected direction. Thursday's Supreme Court hearing was memorable for its discussion of coups, assassinations, and internments, but very little about the former president's conduct. Before the Supreme Court heard arguments on Thursday on former President Donald Trump's claim that he is immune from prosecution, his stance was widely seen as a brazen and cynical bid to delay his trial. The practical question in the case, it was thought, was not whether the court would rule against him, but whether it would act quickly enough to allow the trial to go forward before the 2024 election. Instead, members of the court's conservative majority treated Mr. Trump's assertion that he could not face charges that he tried to subvert the 2020 election as a weighty and difficult question. They did so, said Pamela Karlan, a law professor at Stanford, by averting their eyes from Mr. Trump's conduct. Quote, "What struck me most about the case was the relentless efforts by several of the justices on the conservative side not to focus on, consider, or even acknowledge the facts of the actual case in front of them," she said. They said as much. Quote, "I'm not discussing the particular facts of this case," Justice Samuel Alito Jr. said, instead positing an alternate reality in which a grant of immunity, quote, "is required for the functioning of a stable democratic society, which is something that we all want," close quote. And friends, even more to the point, this Rolling Stone headline. Trump lawyer says having political rival killed could constitute official presidential act. When asked by Justice Sonia Sotomayor during arguments on Thursday if the president deciding that his rival is a corrupt person and he orders the military or he orders someone to assassinate him would constitute an official act subject to immunity, Donald Trump's defense attorney John Sauer said it could. Quote, "It would depend on the hypothetical, but we can see that could well be an official act," Sauer told the court. But friends, Trump attorney John Sauer, remember that name? He didn't stop there. He said not only could a president order the assassination of a political opponent and it would be an official presidential act for which a president would enjoy immunity, he could not be prosecuted. He also said that if a president sold our nuclear secrets to a foreign adversary, that would constitute an official presidential act for which a president could not be prosecuted. Building on that theme, he then told the justices that a president could order the military to stage a coup if the president decided he didn't want to relinquish power, he didn't want to leave office, and attorney John Sauer said that would be an official presidential act for which a president could not be prosecuted. But you know, This is just one of Donald Trump's lawyers, so who in the world is going to take him seriously? Surely the Supreme Court justices wouldn't buy into any of this. Let's have a look at what Justice Alito, Samuel Alito Jr., said during the course of these oral arguments. Justice Alito: a stable democratic society requires that a candidate who loses an election, even a close one, even a hotly contested one, leave office peacefully if that candidate is the incumbent. Oh, thank goodness. At least Justice Alito is talking sense, right? Announcing that if an incumbent president loses an election, he must leave the White House. He must relinquish power peacefully. There has to be a peaceful, orderly transition of power. That's what we just heard Justice Alito say, right? But he wasn't done. If an incumbent who loses a very close, hotly contested election knows that a real possibility after leaving office is not that the president is going to be able to go off into a peaceful retirement, but that the president may be criminally prosecuted by a bitter political opponent, will that not lead us into a cycle that destabilizes the functioning of our country as a democracy? Justice Alito just said that it's critically important that when an incumbent president loses his re-election bid and has to relinquish power, that there be a peaceful, orderly transition to the incoming president, to the new administration. And then he said, if presidents don't have absolute immunity, then they will forever believe that they will be prosecuted by the incoming president nefariously, vindictively, and for no reason. Not because they've committed crimes, but just that's what incoming presidents do in America. They vindictively and without cause prosecute the outgoing president. And Justice Alito said to prevent that evil, that serious problem, presidents should have absolute immunity against prosecution. And what that means is presidents during their 4-year term get to commit all the crimes they want against the people of the United States, violate all of our federal laws with complete impunity and immunity from prosecution, and then they can leave the White House, relinquish power, and gallop off into the sunset of a beautiful afterlife, and will never have to worry about the incoming president prosecuting them for their crimes. That's what Justice Alito suggested must be done to protect outgoing presidents. Here's the thing, Justice Alito, Samuel Alito, or as I should call him, Sammy the Bull Alito. That's never happened in American history. Never before has an outgoing president have to have had immunity so he could enjoy his retirement free from being vindictively prosecuted by the incoming president, even though the outgoing president committed no crimes. Happens all the time, doesn't it, friends? Right? Term after term, presidential term after presidential term, we are forever prosecuting former presidents, even though they didn't commit any crimes. Yeah, you know how many times it's happened? Precisely 0. 0. Once before, we flirted with the idea of prosecuting a former president, but not vindictively, not nefariously, not without cause. It's because that former president committed crimes. Remember Watergate? Remember Richard Nixon? He was going to be prosecuted. He should have been prosecuted. But President Ford made the horrific decision to grant him immunity. Put another way, to pardon him for any and all crimes he committed while in office. That was the express term of the pardon. And I have always contended you can draw a straight line from Ford's pardon of Nixon to Donald Trump and his crimes. Donald Trump believing that he would probably be given immunity or be pardoned, be above the law, not be held responsible for all the crimes he committed against us, against the American people. And Samuel Alito wants to keep up that proud tradition of making sure no president is prosecuted for his crimes. Not prosecuted without cause, prosecuted for his crimes against we the people. Ford wouldn't let Nixon be held accountable for his crimes, and Samuel Alito wants to do the same favor, though, for Donald Trump and every other criminal, corrupt president who may come along in the wake of Donald Trump. And friends, one thing I think we can all be guaranteed of: if Donald Trump is given immunity from prosecution for all the crimes he committed against the American people, we can expect more Donald Trumps, more aspiring autocrats, more dictators, more abject criminals, taking the reins of federal power. Friends, that is the America Justice Alito wants to impose on us. One where a president has license, free rein to commit all the crimes he wants against we the people, and that president can never be held accountable for those crimes. That is Justice Alito's America. And based on some of the comments from some of the other justices, Justice Thomas, Justice Gorsuch, it sounds like that's their America too. That's what they want our democracy to look like. So there are three possibilities moving forward with respect to how the Supreme Court might resolve this case. And I think at this point it's impossible to predict with any accuracy what this Supreme Court will do. But those three possibilities are: one, do what the Constitution provides and reject Donald Trump's claim that he has absolute immunity. Reject his attorney John Sauer's claim that Donald Trump can order the assassination of his political rivals, that Donald Trump can sell our nuclear secrets to adversaries, that Donald Trump can order the military to stage a coup so he can retain power, and he can't be prosecuted for any of it. That is Donald Trump and John Sauer's position. That's what they think America should look like. The Constitution, of course, does not provide that a president is immune from prosecution. In fact, it provides the exact opposite expressly. It says even if a president is impeached, he can still be prosecuted for his crimes. So the first possibility, I'd love to say it's a likelihood, but I can't. The first possibility is the Supreme Court will reject that dangerous and even deadly claim of Donald Trump and his lawyer. The second possibility is the Supreme Court justices can be so interested in and enamored of this nonsensical argument of outer perimeter official acts of a president, maybe some light criminal treason around the edges by Donald Trump. Maybe those outer perimeter presidential acts should enjoy immunity from prosecution. And if they so decide, then they'd probably have to return the case to Judge Tanya Chutkan, the judge who is presiding in Donald Trump's federal prosecution in Washington, D.C. for his attempt to orchestrate a coup, to retain power unlawfully, to criminally overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. The Supreme Court would have to remand the case back, give the case back to Judge Chutkan for all kinds of evidentiary hearings on where Donald Trump's crimes are. Are they heartland crimes in the middle of his official duties? Are they on the outer perimeter? And that will eat up so much time. Donald Trump may not be prosecuted until 2026. Who knows? And then, of course, the third possibility is that they rule that presidents do have absolute immunity and can commit all the crimes they want against the American people on Fifth Avenue and anywhere else they damn well please, and they can't be prosecuted for it. They will march America straight back to the monarchy we fled, we fought against. They will make the President of the United States a king, an autocrat, a dictator. Those are the three possibilities as I see it. And the only one that will pull America out of this quagmire, this march toward autocracy that Donald Trump is trying to lead, the only one that will save our republic is if they rule that Donald Trump is not above the law. He's not a king. He's not a monarch. We're not going to let him be an autocrat or a dictator or any other future president for that matter. And the Supreme Court should reject Donald Trump's claim that he can't be prosecuted for his crimes. Because justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.